City building games have a special kind of charm. They're creative, challenging, and oddly addictive. One minute you're placing a few houses, and the next you've lost track of time, managing supply chains, citizen happiness, and even entire planets. In this video, we're looking at some of the most addictive city building games that you can still play in 2025. From survival-focused classics to newer experimental takes on the genre, there's something here for every type of builder. Let's jump right in. City Skylines. Now, even years after release, City Skylines is still one of the easiest ways to accidentally spend an entire weekend. It nails the fundamentals, zoning, budgeting, and public services, then hands you a ridiculous creative toolbox. The base game already feels great. I mean, you unknot a freeway, add a bus corridor, tweak a roundabout, and suddenly rush hour flows. But what keeps it fresh in 2025 is the workshop. Traffic Manager President Edition lets you tame intersections. Move It and Node Controller let you sculpt every curb and path. 81 tiles and realistic population expand the canvas and change how neighborhoods grow. Network extensions, asset packs, and visual mods turn bland grids into living postcards. The best part is choosing your own win condition. Chase a screenshot-perfect skyline with parks and promenades, build a ruthless logistics city where every truck hits green lights, or just keep fixing tiny problems. Noise here, trash there, until the simulation hums. That one more road rhythm never goes away. Every return visit feels like a new era. Patches smooth rough edges, creators drop another must-have pack, and suddenly you're redesigning your transit hub at 2 a.m. City Skylines isn't just laying roads, it's discovering a city's identity and obsessively refining the systems behind it. Banished. Banished looks humble. No flashy tech trees, no armies, no politics, just a handful of exiles and the promise of a hard winter. That minimalism is the hook. Every villager has a home, a job, and a stomach that never stops complaining. Forget to stockpile wood and homes go cold. Let crops fail and people starve. Expand too fast and you stretch labor so thin the town stalls. It's ruthless but fair. Winter was always coming and your preparation, or lack of it, writes the story. The magic is how meaningful tiny choices feel. Do you rush a tailor for warm coats or another gatherer's hut for safe calories? Build a school now, slower output today, smarter workers tomorrow, or push immediate growth. Where should the first trading post sit so that merchants can rescue a shaky year? There's a rhythm. Food, fuel, shelter, clothes. And once it clicks, your hamlet becomes a town. Then a self-sufficient settlement that you genuinely care about. No quests are pushing you forward. The motivation is survival and pride. Every seed plays differently. River starts nudge you into fishing and trade. Dense forests beg for hunters and herbs. One sloppy winter can undo years of progress, and you'll mutter next time while instantly launching a new map. Banished is elegant, punishing, and weirdly cozy. A quiet meditation on planning ahead where every decision matters. Tropico 6. Tropico 6 is city building with a mischievous grin. You're El Presidente, benevolent visionary, or lovable scoundrel, often both, balancing a sunny island economy, noisy political factions, and the occasional coup attempt. Beneath the jokes is a tight management game. Lay roads through jungle, change sugar into rum exports, upgrade rickety shacks into apartments, and keep tourists happy while your citizens demand jobs, liberty, and decent housing. Meanwhile, communists, capitalists, religious groups, environmentalists, and foreign powers all want different things, and they all vote. The fun is how many ways there are to solve problems. Need votes? Promise lavish reforms, hold a grand speech, throw a festival, and quietly bribe the holdouts. Need cash? Tune your trade routes, nationalize an industry, or skim a little into the Swiss account. Maybe you want some style points. Just link your islands with outrageous bridges, send pirates to steal world wonders, and stage elections you absolutely win. It's playful, but the city builder bones are strong. Housing quality, liberty, job access, service coverage, and transport networks all matter. Because every sandbox evolves differently, it's easy to slip into the one more year loop, smoothing supply chains 1 minute, appeasing intellectuals the next, then secretly building a certain persuasive headquarters. Surviving Mars. Now, most city builders ask you to worry about trash pickup and traffic jams. Surviving Mars raises the stakes by saying, cool, now do it all on a planet that actively wants to kill you. It's not just about plopping buildings, it's about making sure that your colonists don't suffocate because you forgot an oxygen tank or freeze to death because you underestimated a dust storm. You start small, with supply rockets bringing resources from Earth, and gradually scale up into sprawling domes full of homes, research labs, and farms. And every dome feels personal. Each one has its own little bubble of life on an otherwise barren world. What keeps it addictive is the constant balance of risk and reward. Do you spend precious metals on expanding a dome, or hoard them for research breakthroughs? Do you gamble on building greenhouses early, or keep relying on supply shipments that drain your budget? The game loves to throw curveballs as well. Mysteries like AI uprisings, alien artifacts, or even weird psychological issues that hit your colonists. Every playthrough feels like a mix of city builder and survival story, where your colony slowly transforms from a fragile outpost into a self-sustaining society. The vibe is equal parts chill and tense. Watching a dome light up at night is oddly cozy, but you're always aware that one mistake could wipe out your entire colony. Kingdoms and Castles. Kingdoms and Castles is one of those deceptively simple games that ends up eating way more of your time than you'd expect. Now at first glance, it looks like a cheerful little medieval toy box. Plop down a few houses, drop a farm or two, and then watch your tiny villagers wander around. But just give it a couple of hours, and suddenly you're managing defenses against Viking raids, planning elaborate castle walls, and fine-tuning your food supply so that nobody starves in the winter. The magic here is the balance between accessibility and depth. The controls are super straightforward, and the art style is colorful and inviting, which makes it feel cozy and approachable. But underneath that friendly exterior is a city builder that really pulls you in. Expanding your village into a bustling town feels incredibly satisfying, especially when you've survived a few harsh winters and defended against dragon attacks without losing half your population. It's also one of those games that's just relaxing to look at. Watching the season roll by, fields turning golden, villagers chopping wood, festivals popping up in the town square. It has a way of making time just slip away. You're not drowning in micromanagement. Instead, you get this nice balance of creativity, strategy, and just a touch of chaos when invaders show up. Foundation. Foundation takes a very different approach to medieval city building. It throws the grid out the window. Instead of plopping down neat rows of houses, you're shaping an organic, free-flowing village where every path, home, and marketplace naturally grows around the environment. The result is a city that feels alive and unique, with winding roads, clustered homes, and sprawling farms that actually look like they could exist in real life. It's a much more chill, creative experience than a lot of other city builders. I mean, there's no pressure from wars or disasters, just a steady rhythm of expansion. You start with a small settlement, manage basic needs like food and jobs, and slowly layer on complexity with trade routes, monasteries, and monuments. Watching your town evolve without rigid grids makes every save feel different. No two villages ever look alike. What really pulls you in, though, is the sense of progression. Early on, you're just trying to keep everyone fed and housed. But as the town grows, you're managing resources, balancing industries, and shaping neighborhoods around workplaces. It's incredibly satisfying to zoom out and see this messy, charming medieval community that you didn't design so much as guide into existence. The game has also been steadily updated, which means that it feels more polished and feature-rich than ever in 2025. I'll be covering more games just like this one, so if that's your kind of thing, come hang out and subscribe. Caesar 3. Now, there's a reason people still go back to Caesar 3 decades after it first came out. It's one of those city builders that just never loses its charm. You're dropped into the role of a Roman governor, tasked with taking a patch of land and turning it into a thriving Roman city. That means aqueducts, baths, temples, markets, theaters, basically everything that keeps your little pixel citizens happy. But of course, it's not just about slapping down buildings. You have to carefully balance the flow of resources, trade routes, taxes, and the occasional angry god or invading barbarian army. What's wild though is how much personality the game still has, even with its old school graphics. Citizens will literally yell at you if things aren't going well, and you can feel your city come to life as villas upgrade, markets bustle, and gladiator games fill the Colosseum. Sure, newer city builders have prettier visuals and fancier mechanics, but Caesar 3 nails the fundamentals in such a satisfying way that it still holds up today. Whether you're reliving nostalgia or discovering it for the first time, there's just something addictive about watching your Roman Empire rise brick by brick. Aven Colony. Aven Colony takes the city building formula and throws it into a completely new setting. An alien planet. Instead of fertile green fields and rivers, you're stuck trying to make life work on a strange, often hostile world. Oxygen isn't free, food doesn't just grow on its own, and the environment is constantly working against you with things like toxic gas clouds, extreme weather, and alien life forms. It's basically Banished meets sci-fi survival, and it works surprisingly well. What really pulls you in though is just how every little system feels connected. I mean, you're not just building for looks, every structure is a lifeline. Habitats need power, power needs fuel, fuel needs workers, and of course, workers need food and entertainment or they'll riot. You're basically the babysitter of an entire fragile colony, and the game constantly tempts you to expand faster than you probably should. I mean, do you risk overextending into unexplored territory for rare resources, or do you hunker down and build stability? That push and pull is what makes Aven Colony so fun to replay. It's also gorgeous in its own way, with shiny futuristic domes and alien landscapes that make your settlements feel unique compared to traditional city builders. Anno 1800. Now, if you love city builders but also enjoy a good economic puzzle, Anno 1800 is one of those most satisfying games that you can play. It's all about the Industrial Revolution, which means that you're not just building cute little towns. You're creating massive production chains, establishing global trade routes, and balancing the needs of different social classes. Farmers, workers, artisans, engineers, they all demand different goods, and keeping them happy often feels like conducting a giant orchestra. The magic of Anno 1800 is in the layers of depth. At first, you'll just be setting up potato farms and fisheries, but before long, you're knee-deep in steel production, luxury goods, shipyards, and colonies in the New World. Everything feeds into something else, and there's always a new efficiency tweak or trade opportunity pulling you forward. And let's be real, watching your bustling industrial cities light up at night with trains, ships, and factories all moving at once is ridiculously satisfying. It can be a bit overwhelming at first, but once it clicks, it's dangerously addictive. You'll constantly think, okay, I'll just fix my steel supply chain and then quit. And 3 hours later, you're still setting up trade routes across the globe and scheming how to outmaneuver rival empires. It's complex, beautiful, and endlessly replayable. One of the most polished city builders of the last decade. The Wandering Village. The Wandering Village is probably one of the most unique city builders out there right now. Instead of building on a static map, you're constructing a settlement on the back of a massive wandering creature called Anbu. The entire world is essentially moving under your feet, and that twist completely changes how you think about your city building. Anbu isn't just a passive platform either. It's alive, it gets hungry, tired, and sick. You're not only building a functional settlement, but also maintaining a relationship with the creature itself. Do you treat Anbu kindly, feeding and healing it when needed? Or do you exploit it for resources, risking its trust by boosting your short-term survival? That moral dilemma makes every decision feel weighty. Meanwhile, you're still dealing with the usual survival pressures, farming food, gathering resources, and keeping villagers healthy. But because the environment changes as Anbu travels through different biomes, you can't just set up one perfect system and relax. One moment you're thriving in fertile grasslands, the next you're trudging through a toxic desert with scarce water. It keeps you on your toes in the best way possible. Visually, the game has this hand-drawn, almost storybook-like charm that makes even tough moments feel cozy. It's one of those games where you tell yourself, I'll just finish this biome, and then suddenly you've spent hours trying to keep both your people and your giant companion alive. It's refreshing, creative, and surprisingly heartwarming for a survival city builder. Songs of Six. Songs of Six is one of those games that looks simple on the surface but hides incredible depth. You start with just a handful of settlers, a few farms, and some basic shelters, but before long, you're managing a sprawling metropolis with tens of thousands of citizens. The scale is jaw-dropping. The game doesn't just let you build big, it encourages you to think huge. What makes it so addictive is how all the systems connect. Food, industry, immigration, politics, and even massive armies all tie together, and a tiny mistake can snowball into big problems. You'll be setting up supply chains, organizing workers, passing laws, and reacting to global events that impact your city's economy and security. On top of that, the world map adds layers of diplomacy, conquest, and trade, making it feel like part city builder, part grand strategy. The graphics may look minimalistic, but that's the secret weapon. It runs smoothly even when your city is gigantic. Mods also keep things fresh, with new content and tools for players who love experimenting. The real joy comes from problem solving. Fixing a bottleneck in production feels like a victory, and expanding your settlement into a thriving capital is endlessly rewarding. It's not the kind of game that gives instant gratification, but if you love weaving complex systems together and watching your city come alive, Songs of Six will absolutely eat your free time. Settlement Survival. If you've ever played Banished and wished for more depth, Settlement Survival is the natural upgrade. At its core, it's about guiding a small group of pioneers who are carving out a life in the wilderness. You'll worry about food, housing, warmth, and disasters, and a single bad winter or failed harvest can wipe out everything. It's cozy on the surface, but beneath the friendly visuals is a game that demands careful planning. What sets it apart from other survival city builders is the sense of progression. There's a tech tree that slowly unlocks more complex industries, trading options, and infrastructure. Your little settlement could grow into a bustling town with schools, hospitals, and specialized production chains. And while the basics are survival focused, the long-term goals push you toward building something truly stable and impressive. The visuals are colorful and approachable, but the mechanics will punish sloppy play. Crops fail, disasters hit, and workers fall ill if you're not paying attention. But that's also the charm. Every failure makes your next attempt smarter. There are also scenario modes with unique challenges if you want structure, or sandbox if you'd rather just build and experiment at your own pace. The best part is how attached you get to your little settlement. Watching families grow, trade routes expand, and industries flourish makes every success feel personal. Against a Storm. Against a Storm is what happens when a city builder meets roguelite strategy, and honestly, it works way better than you'd think. Instead of endlessly managing one big city, the game has you building lots of smaller settlements across a dark, rain-drenched fantasy world. Each settlement is temporary, but each run ties back to the bigger picture of rebuilding your kingdom. You play as the Queen's Viceroy, sent out to tame wild lands in a world where it never stops raining. And that rain isn't just gloomy, it's dangerous. The weather, combined with the Queen's rising impatience, puts you under constant pressure to keep your settlers alive and happy. The settlers themselves are a fun mix of species: beavers, lizards, humans, harpies, and more, each with their own quirks and demands, so juggling their needs becomes its own little puzzle. But the roguelite layer is what keeps it addictive. Every time you complete or fail a settlement, you bring resources back to unlock permanent upgrades and new buildings. This gives the game a just one more run energy that traditional city builders usually don't have. What I like about Against a Storm is that it keeps the tension high without making things overly stressful. Runs aren't too long, so you get that satisfying city building progression in a compact, replayable package. WorldBox God Simulator. WorldBox God Simulator isn't your traditional city builder. It's more like sitting at the edge of a sandbox and deciding whether to play nice or burn everything down with a magnifying glass. You take on the role of a godlike figure, shaping entire worlds by raising mountains, carving out oceans, planting forests, and then letting civilizations grow within the environment that you've created. Humans, elves, orcs, and dwarves will all pop up, form kingdoms, go to war, and expand their territory, all without you having to micromanage them. Instead, your role is more about creating the conditions for them to thrive, or throwing in a tornado to see what happens. You've got a massive toolbox of powers: meteors, plagues, dragons, even UFOs if you're in the mood for chaos. It's up to you whether you play as a benevolent guardian or a cosmic prankster. The fun of WorldBox comes from the unpredictability. You might carefully nurture a kingdom for centuries, only to watch it collapse after a rebellion, or you might unleash a volcano and laugh as entire empires vanish. And because it's so open-ended, there's no wrong way to play. It's all about experimenting and storytelling. It's not really a city builder in the strict sense that you place buildings or manage resources directly, but it scratches a similar itch if you enjoy watching societies rise and fall. Airborne Kingdom. Airborne Kingdom takes the city building formula and flips it, literally, by putting your entire kingdom in the sky. Instead of laying roads and zoning districts on solid ground, here you're managing floating platforms, propellers, and balloons that keep your city drifting gracefully above the world. The twist is that balance matters. Build too much on one side and your whole kingdom might start leaning, which isn't just funny to look at, but can seriously impact how efficient your city runs. The game mixes exploration and city management in a really charming way. You're not just building houses and workshops, you're guiding your airborne civilization across a massive desert world, looking for resources, allies, and ancient secrets. Down below, you'll find scattered settlements, each with their own unique culture and needs, and you can recruit people to join your kingdom if you manage to win them over. What makes Airborne Kingdom special is that sense of adventure. You're not stuck in one place. The world opens up as you move across it, and every new region feels like a fresh chapter. The visuals are beautiful, with that soft, storybook style that makes even the desert feel magical. And because the city is always in motion, the challenges never really stop. You're constantly balancing fuel, lift, and expansion. Islanders. Islanders is the kind of game that proves sometimes the simplest ideas are the most addictive. There's no complicated economy, no stress about citizens complaining that they don't have enough bread or running water. Instead, it's just you, a series of colorful little islands, and a set of buildings to place. The whole point is to find the most satisfying spots to drop each building to rack up points, unlocking more buildings and eventually moving on to the next island. What makes Islanders so satisfying is its puzzle-like rhythm. Place a lumberjack near trees, bonus points. Position a city center surrounded by houses, even more points. The game constantly nudges you to think about space and synergy, but without overwhelming you with numbers and spreadsheets. It's the definition of easy to pick up, hard to put down. The islands themselves are randomly generated, which means that every run feels fresh. One time you'll be working with a tiny rock island barely big enough for a cluster of huts, and the next you'll be decorating a sprawling paradise. And since there's no fail state in the traditional sense, you can just relax, experiment, and move forward. It's a really cozy experience. It's a game you can play for 10 minutes or 2 hours, depending on your mood, and it's almost meditative with its colorful visuals and gentle soundtrack. Frostpunk. Frostpunk is the exact opposite of a cozy builder. It's brutal, cold, and constantly testing your ability to make tough choices. Instead of building a sunny metropolis, you're leading the last city on Earth in the middle of a frozen apocalypse. At the center of it all is your giant coal-powered generator, and keeping that thing burning is literally the difference between life and death for your people. The city building itself is tense and deliberate. Houses, medical posts, and coal mines need to be placed strategically, but the real weight comes from the moral decisions that you're forced to make. Do you send children to work in the mines because you need extra labor, or do you protect them and risk not gathering enough coal to survive the next blizzard? Do you enforce harsh laws to keep order, or try to keep morale high at the risk of inefficiency? What makes Frostpunk so compelling is that it constantly makes you balance survival against compassion. Every run feels like a desperate story of sacrifice, and sometimes winning doesn't even feel like victory. It's more like scraping through with a battered city and the haunting knowledge of what you had to do to keep it alive. Plan B Terraform. Plan B Terraform takes city building and zooms way out, like planetary scale out. Instead of managing a single town, you're tasked with making an entire barren planet livable. At first, it feels like a logistics sim. I mean, you're mining resources, building factories, and setting up transport networks to get everything where it needs to go. But as you progress, you'll notice the land slowly changing. Snow starts to melt, water fills empty valleys, and forests begin to take root. Eventually, cities spring up, growing organically as your terraforming efforts succeed. The beauty of Plan B is watching this gradual transformation. There's something so deeply satisfying about laying out a long supply chain, zooming out, and seeing your once dead planet slowly turn green. Unlike traditional city builders where you place every house and road, here you're more like the invisible hand guiding the planet's rebirth, and the settlements emerge as a natural result of your planning. It also scratches that factory game itch. You'll be balancing production chains, figuring out how to move resources efficiently, and constantly upgrading your infrastructure to handle the growing demands of a living world. It's not stressful though. It's more about steady, methodical progress, with a relaxing pace that makes it easy to get lost in. I hope you found this video helpful. Be sure to leave a comment below if any of these games caught your eye, or if there are other upcoming releases you'd like to hear about. If you enjoyed this video, consider liking and subscribing for more gaming content in the future. Thanks for watching.